Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you guys had a very good week this past 7 days. I'm working here today on a 10-inch by 20-inch canvas on a nice little puddle pour story. Beginning here with some really random puddles for my Artist Loft light blue color, with about 3 or 4 more colors to come in a few seconds here. And as I began to space out my puddles here, I wanted to be aware of where my paint was, but not too close to each puddle that I got, overlapping in a bit of a too much of a cluster and too close together in that it may wind up ending touching each other. So I wanted my colors to be apart. As here I brought out my turquoise after my light blue to break up that lighter color and get some good contrast with a bit of a darker color, leading into, again, some more puddles with a bit of a random feel, wanting to, of course, like I say, break up that light blue with the turquoise and just making sure to keep them apart, but also maintaining that distance between each other. And now, as for me, as I look back on this video, I really enjoy puddle pours. However, I find that the lead up to the actual making of the painting, some swipes coming up later with some nice lacing effects, does take forever to get there. So again, we want to be very intentional with where our colors are going to be. Again, I'm trying to space out my dark and light against each other, so I'm not trying to go too fast, but again, this process can take a while, so just bear with me as we bring out the Phthalo Blue. That is a very bright color, but I wanted, again, some darker colors in with my lights to give it a good contrast that may work out very well in the long term, knowing I would be spreading these colors together once I was done with all of my puddles to make a very cool pattern in the end. And as you can see, I had a bit of a hesitation there with my last few Phthalo Blue puddles. I'm being very aware that I don't want to get this too dark because I didn't want to bury those lighter colors with my dark phthalo and eliminate any kind of light blue I may have had. My intent here was to, again, get good contrast with the dark, but also not wanting to have it overwhelm the entire piece. Alright, and coming off the heels of saying I don't want to overwhelm this piece with a too dark of colors, I mixed a little bit of phthalo with a little bit of ivory black to give this one more touch of dark before I swipe through it to make my puddles just a bit more murky. But again, it looks black on the screen here, but again, quite a dark blue in my remaining spots to make sure I've got enough coverage for my palette knife and swiping coming up in a sec here. Alright, and I mixed my paint colors each about 1/3 paint to 2/3 pouring medium. In addition, adding about ½ an ounce each to each color, of Floetrol. Now, the Floetrol is added to my colors to make sure I've got good cell reaction and lacing effects with my swipes later on. So again, 1/3 paint to 2/3 pouring medium, and a bit of Floetrol, not a ton, but enough to, again, just ensure I get some good lacing effects on my swipes. Okay, and here I go with my palette knife into my paint. Now, one thing I kind of misjudged, I suppose, for lack of a better word, is how much paint actually is there, although quite thin. My first swipe attempt I did miss altogether, so there's always that. But anyhow, I find this incredibly therapeutic to do. It's about 1.5 times speed, so in regular time I go quite slow and making sure to get good coverage. And so my idea here was to make sure that I did spread through all of the colors, but not, again, wanting to make it too murky. I wanted that light blue to kind of stick around to make sure I had some, again, light color with some dark, but not wanting to get it too black or too dark blue. And now, as for swiping through your puddles, I found that, for me anyway, this helps me understand what colors will actually blend well with one another and how to determine what to make next time. So again, for me, it's the swiping through the puddles, which helps me understand the color combinations I may use in the future. But anyway, here we are. The first swipe came across incredibly well, and I thought, hey, let's try the other corner to the middle. And if you look over to the left, you can see the white lacing begin to form in the black and blue, which I thought was gorgeous. So I kept going and wanting to get as much white Amsterdam paint in there as possible across all of my swiping. Now in this particular swipe, I didn't have much area to work with, but I thought I'd give it a shot. And as you can see here, my attempt didn't go so well, so we may come back in a while to correct that. But we'll move on to the rest of the puddles that are still waiting to be swiped through. So again, we're trying to cover as much area as possible with my white titanium cell activator to make sure that I have plenty of lacing to tilt around once I'm ready for that part of the pour. Okay, I'm finishing up my last couple of swipes here with my titanium cell activator. I was very cautious not to swipe too deep because I have managed to wreck some puddles in the past with pushing my palette knife too deep into the paint, causing some murkiness. So here's my correction on my corner from prior, where I just couldn't get my cell activator to swipe good enough, but I think I'll take that one. So I'm quite happy with how the lacing worked out so far. So from here, I will work on some tilting in a second. And as I move in for my tilt, I have found that in the past few weeks, we'll call it 4 to 6 weeks, I have begun to slow myself down and not just begin to pour paint off the sides, where I have just been rushing. So I'm trying to determine where the paint is on the canvas and which corner should go first. So I did feel that the top corner, I guess to our right, was feeling a little bit heavy. I wanted to get the ball going here with a bit of a slow tilt, trying to space out my lacing, not wrecking the entire effects across the board. So I went fairly slow, but dumped the first corner, which looked really nice in the middle. And again, slowing down to just kind of observe what's in the middle across the entire canvas. And again, taking your time isn't the worst thing, because the worst thing you can do is, again, go too fast and ruin your piece or not be happy with your end product. And now as I continue to tilt off the paint off the sides here, I was really encouraged and quite happy with how things were looking. I wasn't sure how this color combination with the lights and darks may turn out, but was happy I poured in that darker phthalo with my ivory black, in addition to the lighter turquoise and light blue I used off the beginning. So again, the middle has a lot of phthalo and turquoise I wanted to keep, and I'm trying to maintain, again, a steady hand and some consistency with how this is turning out. I'm really happy with how my design is turning. From here, I began to just go a bit more slowly. The paint was moving pretty quick, so I wanted to again maintain some control there and making sure that I didn't lose some nice patterns I had to begin with. Now, as a quick question, in terms of puddle pours, do you like this color combination of lights with dark blues plus a bit of darker black / phthalo put together, or would you try a different color combination entirely? If you would, let me know what your color choices might be in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you guys may think. Now, with this pour here, again, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think the pattern is fantastic. Gives a bit of an ocean look feel to it. Waves crashing down. I call this one Blue Crush. That's my term for this one. No, I thought it turned out real well. And from here, I'm just finishing up to make sure I want that pattern of big old lacing in the middle. Stretching just a little bit more before I finish up this pour here. And as a part of my perfectionism, we'll call it, I'm never sure when I should put the paint down and just stop. So I thought, hey, you know what? I'm happy with my design. Let's just set it down and leave it alone and walk away. And here we go in for a bit of a wet look over top. Again, I really enjoy how this looks with the darker blue with what turned out to be kind of a black. I'll accept that. But all in all, the combination of the light with dark, I think, turned out great. I'm really happy with the lacing effects it gave me. And ultimately, the pattern, I think, is one of the best I made in quite a while. So I'll take this one all day. And no, if you have enjoyed this video, please consider clicking that like button and hitting this next playlist up here, and we'll see you again next time.